to people and be like, you can watch this live?
No, not this particular one. If you want to do a live one at some point with a different movie, we certainly could.
Okay.
Okay.
But at this point, this is just private with us, but we're recording now to our page, and then either Jeremy or Scott will pick it up and they'll edit it and they'll put it up on our on the web and on the iTunes feed and up on YouTube as well.
And then we can share that after.
Exactly.
Once it's all up. Okay, cool.
Yep, perfect. All right, so let me get I'm going to set up my tabs here so that I can have my information handy.
Well.
And then we will get started.
Sam, I haven't seen you in so long.
Honestly.
So happy to be hanging out with you.
Oh my God. Great.
Okay.
Great.
All right, I'm figuring out a way that I can get all of this on one screen. Okay, I think that should work.
Tiffany, your headshot keeps popping up.
My headshot?
Yeah, like a headshot picture of you keeps popping up sometimes.
Is it like maybe my Google picture?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's not your headshot. It's not your real headshot.
Headshot. It's a picture I took myself. It's fine.
I mean, your hair looks on point.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay, we're all right. We are ready. I'm going to count it down to whoever's editing this.
Okay.
Great.
And we will get started in 3, 2. Well, hello out there in podcast land. Welcome back to the Front Row Movie Reviews podcast, the podcast for people who actually like movies. And welcome to the second episode of the newest member of the Front Row Movie Reviews Network. This is Guilty Pleasures. I am your host, Lou Hare, and I could not be more thrilled for this episode. When we started this concept, this was one of the first movies that hit my list, and I'm excited because it's September, and that means everyone is going back to school. And so the Front Row is not only going back, we're going back to school again. Because today we're going to be talking about the 1982 movie musical sequel, Grease 2. So, and with me, I also am very excited for this episode because I have two guests today joining me that I could not be more excited to have. They are two dear friends of mine, and we are thrilled to have them joining us on the Front Row Movie Reviews for the first time. First off, let's introduce the very funny and talented Miss Sam Dabina. Sam, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Love
wait to talk this movie with you.
Ugh, my heart.
I appreciate you getting in costume for this as well.
I dressed like a T-bird. Had to.
Walk like a T-bird, dress like a T-bird.
Oh my God, for days.
So as is our tradition on the Front Row, whenever we have a new guest on the podcast, we always ask this question. So Sam, I'll ask you, what is your favorite movie?
I knew you were going to ask me this. I've thought about it for literally hours. I have settled on, it's kind of a tie. It's a tie. I couldn't decide. Number 1, Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
It's comedy. It has heart. It's adventure. It takes you. It travels the country. I mean, what more?
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Oh.
Intense. Drama. Just edge of your seat. Honest to God, it's my favorite movie. I remember seeing it in the theater. My dad and mom took me when I was inappropriately 9 or something. I spent most of it in the bathroom crying, but stuck with me. So those are my two favorites.
Excellent. No, Fantastic choices. We had this on the 90s bracket where I need to revisit Jurassic Park because I remember seeing it in the theater as well.
Yes.
And I saw it on home video like 2 months later and it didn't have that same feel. And I haven't gone back to it. I really need to go back to it.
Really? I mean, I literally watch it once a year just to, just to get back to that place of terrifyingness when I was 9.
All right, fantastic. Well, and also on the podcast today, making her debut on the Front Row Movie Reviews is, again, another very funny, very talented lady, Miss Tiffany Topol. Tiffany, how are you?
Yes. I am so good. Thank you.
See how funny she is?
She is.
Look at me be funny. How are you?
Stop.
So,
oh God.
All right, Tiff, I will pose the same question to you. What is your favorite movie?
Clueless.
Knew it.
No, I mean, I did not have to think about it for hours. Literally, my favorite movie of all time. Number 1. That's it.
Perfect.
No explanation. You don't need an explanation. No. It's a perfect movie. It's literally a perfect.
Well, I'll tell you what's not a perfect movie, and that is Grease 2. So, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So before we get into it, for those of you who are not familiar with Grease 2, yes, you would be correct. It is the sequel to the 1978 film Grease. And here's a quick plot summary for you. It's 1961, 2 years after the original Grease, and a new generation of T-Birds and Pink Ladies rule the school. Cars are out, motorcycles are in. But when Michael Carrington, the cousin of Sandy from the first Grease, arrives, he falls for the leader of the Pink Ladies, Miss Stephanie Zanoni. To win her over, Michael transforms into a mysterious, cool writer and offsets the balance of Pink Ladies and T-Birds and changes the dynamic at Rydell High forever. This movie, this movie's 35 years old, which just makes me feel really old. But so here's a couple of brief facts about why we're talking about it on this podcast as opposed to any of our other Front Row podcasts. So this movie came out, like I said, 4 years after Grease 2. It made $11 million off of a $13 million budget. Now, to put that in comparison,
I thought it was a $15 million budget.
Oh, see,
I thought it made $15 million off of an $11 million budget.
Did I flip that? Maybe I did. Look at you fact checking me. Come on.
Sorry. I hate myself already. Fire
that
me,
is
fire
okay.
Me,
no,
fire
that is no. You are well within your right to fact check me. I rarely know what I'm doing on any occasion. So, but by comparison, the original Grease earned $395 million off a $6 million budget. So they cut the budget. They doubled the budget for this movie. This movie cost twice as much to make as the original Grease, and it makes less than 10% of the original. That's not a great investment.
Well,
this movie has a 32% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is high, but that's probably because we don't have a lot of reviews from 1982.
Right.
But it has a 4.2 rating on IMDb. So that gives you a little bit of the background of what this. So let's start this off. I want to start with our first impressions of this movie. The first time you saw this movie, where were you? What did you think the first time, and how did it compare to the last time you watched this? Because we've all watched this recently for the podcast. So Sam, let's start with you. When did you first see Grease 2?
God, I mean, a while ago. When I remember watching it when I was younger, and I thought it was the coolest. I mean, like, Michelle Pfeiffer, obsessed with her. Hold on, what's my Wi-Fi doing? Okay, there we go. I loved it. I thought the songs were so great. I thought the acting was so great for whatever reason.
Don't get me started. I actually
Tiffany, it's not your turn. I just loved it, and the guy who plays Michael is so hot, so hot, and British, and anything before that. I don't think he did anything since, and I don't care.
Yes.
Yes. I love Grease because it was like dirtier and like they were like more hardcore and like really smoking cigarettes all the time, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. It was just, yeah, I loved it. The music was great. The dancing was terribly great. And yeah.
Okay. So when you watched it again, and I know you watched it today before this podcast, how did your opinion change? You still feel the same way?
Michael is still so hot. I actually, Tiffany and I talked about this earlier. Michelle Pfeiffer is actually really great in this movie for the crap script that it is, and the crap direction and the crap everything else. Like, she really kind of made something out of garbage. It's watching it today. It is insanely misogynistic, so sexist, so inappropriate. Like, I don't know what y'all were doing in high school, but I was not smoking cigarettes or riding motorcycles or singing about sex. And
Sam, your leather jacket would state otherwise. Your street cred is out the window.
Sorry, Sam.
I just it just makes no sense at all whatsoever, and the entire movie makes no sense. But still love it. Still sang and danced around to the songs. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more inappropriate in a lot of ways than I remember watching it when I was younger.
Okay. All right. Well, Tiff, how about you? When did you first see Grease 2?
Okay, so I was always into musicals, starting with Annie when I was very young, like 5, 6, and I was obsessed with Annie and then Peter Pan, and then my parents were like, "Oh, she likes musicals," and they were like, "You know, Grease is a musical." I was probably 8, and I was like, "Grease?" And I was like, "That's a terrible name for a musical. Are you sure it's a
thing?"
Yeah. And I was like, "Mom, are you sure it's a musical?" And she was like, "Yes." And so they made me watch Grease, and I fell in love with Grease, and I loved it so much. And then for Christmas, probably, or my birthday one year, I unwrap, or maybe even Easter, God damn it, in a basket, I unwrap Grease 2, and I like look up, and I'm like, "There's a Grease 2?" And my mom's like, "Yeah." So I pop that shit in, and I was like, "Oh, there's a Grease. There's a Grease 2." So I think I first saw it maybe when I had to have been 10, 11, definitely no older than 12.
Right.
And I didn't know any better. I thought it was great. I feel like we'll get into the details later, but I think because I was so young and still like just getting into musicals, like every musical that I saw was amazing. I was like, "It's a musical, I love it." So like that's how I felt about Grease 2.
Yeah.
At that time.
And I'm the same way, because I honestly didn't just feel that about musicals. I felt that about movies in general. You know, because when I first saw this, my sister is about 5 years older than me, so I got to see a lot more things that I probably should not have seen as a child.
Right.
And Grease 2 is probably the least offensive of those things. But my sister, we could get into some stuff, but no, but
that's another podcast.
Yes, totally. But my sister had the soundtrack. We owned the video disc of this, not the VHS, the video disc of Grease 2, and watched that sumbitch so many times.
The laser disc?
No, the pre-laser disc.
Oh,
this is early 80s.
Are they
there was
smaller?
a thing. No, they're bigger.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, they're the size. Google this when we're done. They are the size of LPs. And they came in this plastic sleeve, and there was a video disc player. And you would shove the plastic sleeve in there. It would take the disc and spit the shell out. The shells were amazing. They were beautiful. I would go broke just collecting video discs.
Oh my God!
From my childhood,
like a snake shedding its skin.
Exactly. Yes, that's exactly what it was. It was fantastic. We had this, and we had Michael Jackson's Thriller.
God, the two essentials.
Yeah. What more do you need? And we wore them out. And I think I saw this movie actually before I saw the original Grease. I'm pretty sure that I did.
What?
Yes. I saw Grease.
Changes
everything.
So
I have a whole theory on that as well. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
So I remember. Again, we're gonna get deep here in a quick tangent. My dad got mad at my sister and I because we weren't doing our chores. We were watching Grease 2. And he said, "You guys should be setting the table instead. You're watching the worst movie ever made." I'm like, whoa. This movie's bad?
How dare. How dare.
Yeah.
Phil.
Phil was not happy that day. I'm just assuming he spoke in anger and didn't really mean to offend Grease 2. But yeah, so that was and the interesting thing too, because during my research, I think there's a lot of people of my age who saw this movie before they saw Grease, because there was actually a contingent of people who prefer Grease 2 to Grease, which blows my mind in so many ways, which we'll get into. But yeah, that was my first impression. And then I rewatched it this week, and I was like, and then eventually, I kind of fell in line with the whole, this movie's horrible. And then I watched it this week, and I'm like, I'm having a good time here. Yeah. I found myself enjoying this movie in spite of myself. So, so that's mine. So let's I guess start. What is, what's the first thing then? Let's start with what we liked about the movie. Let's start with where do we want to begin, or either anything that in just your mind you want to get out right now. What sticks out from this movie to you
that we like?
Either way.
I mean, I just love the songs. I think they're stupidly cheesy, but so catchy. I mean, you could sing and remember all the words to all of them, and just hearing them once, especially. Oh God, my thingy fell out. Okay, especially two songs, "Cool Rider," which every girl.
I'll go into
Yeah. Every girl I know, probably, hopefully, maybe, wants to sing that song. Wanted to be Michelle Pfeiffer in that song. Love it. So great. Number 2, which I think is genius, is the Girl for All Seasons talent show song.
Wow.
It's such I agree. It's just so
really
it's all of it, the whole thing, not just the song, but the costumes are so fucking funny, and they're just so dedicated. What's Her Smack is just so proud to be the March 4-Leaf Clover, and it just means so much to them. I think it's so great. I would watch that part of the movie over and over and over and over again. Just the costumes. It's just I love it. The music to me is the best part. Maybe the only good part, but I love it.
Yeah. So the great thing about a lot of the music in this is that honestly, they brought in a star team of writers to write this music. So the original Grease was written by Jim Jacobs and Warren, I can't remember the last name.
Buffett.
So Warren Buffett. So they had nothing to do with this, but then they brought it, like literally they brought in a dude he was a Brill Building writer from the 60s. So he wrote for Neil Sedaka. He wrote for, so like Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, like that kind of shit. So that's the kind of writer you want to have for this musical. It's like someone who actually wrote music in the 60s. And so that's why this shit is so catchy. And then like, okay, so you're talking about Cool Rider, which is literally the best song in the movie.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's the best song in the movie. Everybody knows it. Everybody can sing it. It was written by the dude who wrote, Sam, you're going to love this. It was written by the dude who wrote Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks.
What?
Yes.
I knew it.
Wow. I thought I did my research on this show. This is fantastic.
Okay.
That is
so like
awesome.
what I love about that song is like, it actually sounds like a Jim Steinman song. It sounds like a Meatloaf song.
That's what I thought. When I was watching this movie, I'm like, this sounds like Meatloaf. I stopped the movie and I Googled this. I was like, did Jim Steinman write this? Because it sounds like Meatloaf.
But if you took that song up a third, actually, if you took it up a third, sung by a woman, but you still need to take it up a third for Meatloaf's range, it would be a Meatloaf Jim Steinman song.
That is.
I think I know what, if I ever get back into acting, I think I now know what my audition piece is going to be.
Cool Rider, up a third.
Take that shit up a third. I'm doing Cool Rider in my next audition.
You do need a Cool Rider, Lou. You really do.
I do need a Cool Rider.
Oh my god. So like that is why the music is so good. It's like there were some like straight up writers. One of the original, like for the Grease movie, they brought in a dude named Louis St. Louis. And he wrote Sandy, which is like one of the best songs in the show.
Yes.
Or movie. I keep saying show. It's not in the show. It's in the movie. But he wrote some shit on Grease 2 as well. They brought in a few people from the original Grease in the creative team. Like the original choreographer also choreographed Grease 2. So and she was like,
"Oh, you can tell that, yeah."
Exactly, which is why it looks so good. And she's like, "Do I really wanna?" And like she did.
And then fine.
Exactly. And Louis St. Louis as well, and obviously some of the actors.
Yeah, the director's name is Patricia Birch. She's the choreographer from the first Grease movie, and this is her first and only feature film that she directs.
Really?
That's all she needed to do.
Yes, but she does go back. She does have a very successful career on Broadway as a choreographer and as a film choreographer too. So she does okay. But it was. But you know, it's hard to get that Grease 2 stink off you.
Yeah, but also like good for her. And like I'll get into later how I know this is. There are some hot take articles that I've read about Grease 2 and how people have preferred it to Grease, and a lot of them cite it as like the feminist Grease, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's directed by a woman, which I really appreciate.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's just go. I mean, you bring it up, so let's just dive into it because you're right. That is something. If there.
I gotta take off this jacket. Hold on.
Okay. Sam's gonna take off her T-bird jacket.
While Sam's taking her T-bird jacket off, which means she is officially out of the gang, because as we know from Grease 2, if you take the jacket off and you toss it to someone else, they're now a T-bird.
I know. I was sweating. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't. I would be immediately kicked out.
Yes. So, but there are some arguments to be made, and I think this is from the people, like if you watch it, kind of what you said earlier, Sam, if you watch it when you're young and clearly this movie has 1 star in it, and it's Michelle Pfeiffer. She is so good in this movie. She rises above the material so well. And the character of Stephanie is a very strong female character. She doesn't compromise. And that's where the gender swap of Grease 2 actually does give it in that regard a feminist bent to it, in that the guy's changing to appease the girl. I feel like if Grease got rebooted, like if Grease 2 hadn't happened, Grease would have been rebooted and they would have done this gender swap to make it 2017.
Totally.
So I agree.
I could absolutely see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree on that regard. The counter argument, I think we're going to get to in a minute.
Mhm.
But before we get off the songs, I'll since we're talking about the music,
Yeah.
my favorite number, my favorite song and number is probably the opening number of Back to School.
Mhm.
And I feel like I watched that opening and I'm like, this is a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Like the plot hasn't kicked in, the dialogue, we haven't heard
Mhm.
anything except for one thing I'm going to point out in a minute, but the song's great. And I love, Tiff, all the stuff that you brought up because they spent money on getting some good songwriters.
Yes.
To write good songs that fit the period. And they even, for the opening number, they got the Four Tops. They got Levi Stubbs to sing Back to School.
Mhm.
And for those of you...
I saw that today that it was the Four Tops.
It was the Four Tops.
Oh.
Levi Stubbs, who would later on, for movie musical fans too, would go on and do the voice of Audrey 2 in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
so I'm like, hey, it's Audrey 2 singing. That's awesome.
Hey.
And, it's great. And no, but that opening number it has so much energy. It's a fun song. And then, of course, it was fun. And then I listened to the soundtrack without watching the movie earlier today, and I listened to the lyrics, and I was like, oh, the lyrics to this song are just as bad as the lyrics to the rest of the movie.
Isn't it just like back to school, back to school again?
It's not so much that. It's the guy is singing. The reason he's upset about going back to school is because he spent so much time in the summer getting laid. He is sad he has to go back. And then in the third verse, he meets a girl and he's like, oh, I'm happy to go back now because now I have a new girl in my sights.
Wait a minute. That's literally what everyone thinks as a young person every year.
Yes.
Like that is a very legitimate storyline.
Spending all summer getting laid.
And then being like, I'm sad.
I remember, you just described my high school to a T.
Yes. And arguably, this is another thing I love about also the song, this opening number in Grease, and or in Grease 2, because, we can't talk about Grease 2 without talking about Grease. So,
yes.
Right.
So, the opening number, sort of the opening number of Grease is actually Love's a Many Splendid Thing. And so, so in that way, they're hearkening back to Grease and being like, we're thinking about the summer and how we just had a romance and a lot of sex and now we're back. Right. But that song is also this, I just love that both movies also have the big song that they get the actual pop singer to sing. So because it's Barry Gibb singing the actual number of Grease, which also and then Levi Stubbs.
I'm gonna name check you. It was Frankie Valli who did Grease.
Oh, Frankie Valli. I'm so sorry.
There we go.
Wait. Oh, yeah. You're right. I'm so sorry. No, Barry Gibb. Right. Barry Gibb, I think, wrote it. He wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, correct. Correct.
It was, yes, Frankie Valli. Yes, correct.
Frankie Valli sang it. Barry Gibb wrote it. I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna actually.
You should probably go.
Okay. See you, Tiff. That was Tiffany,
Thanks,
and you'll never hear from her again. No, but yeah, you're right. The music, and that's the interesting thing because they upped the budget for this movie. They clearly wanted this to be a big hit. They set this for a summer release, and they actually went out and tried to get some stars for this movie. They did try to get Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta to make appearances. They declined. But okay, so here's a couple of names that you'll be familiar with. So the role of Michael Carrington, one of the people considered was Andy Gibb.
Okay.
He declines. For the role of Johnny Nagarelli, which that name just alone,
it's so bad.
That goes to Adrian Zmed. A young Tom Cruise auditions for that role.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Because I think Adrian Zmed sucks, but we can get back to that later.
Yes. Well. Ooh, good. Okay. We'll come back. We'll circle back to that. Okay. And then also initially asked to play Stephanie Zanoni was Debbie Harry from Blondie.
I'm so glad she did not get it.
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. So they wanted big names for this movie. They had big. Clearly, they had. They did. They wanted this to be a big event movie. And they even the last one that I had to bring out, I forgot, for the role of Paulette, which ends up going to Lorna Luft.
Lorna Luft.
That was originally offered to Cher.
No.
I could see all of this. This is the thing. I could see all of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, it makes sense.
I think Lorna Luft is so good in this.
She's so good.
I guess I can't see.
She's one of my favorite
performances.
She's great, and you don't. This is the one thing that she's known for, and you don't see, which is interesting because, for those who don't know, she is Judy Garland's daughter. She is the half sister of Liza Minnelli. And so with that kind of pedigree and connections, you think that she would be able to do more, but it's like Grease 2, and that's it. And
I know, it's such a bummer.
I was wondering, like, she's wonderful in this, and specifically there's just like one moment where she's just chewing her gum in the background, and I was like, that's an actress. Like, I'm not kidding. There was just the way that she was like, just like,
and she's like one of the few. Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just wondering why, literally, because then I was looking like at her career, and I was like, why is the biggest thing she's done? Maybe because she didn't have to do anything else. I mean honestly,
probably, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, she's got that Wizard of Oz money coming in.
Right.
Oh yes.
And literally, she shows up. She's actually in a few. The only time I've ever seen her, other than Grease 2, is in Wizard of Oz documentaries. So clearly, she's interested in keeping that legacy going.
Dude,
what I love about her in this movie is she's one of the few who actually has an arc of some sorts. You know, at the beginning, she starts off typical dumb blonde in love with Johnny. You know, gets pushed around, gets beat up a little bit, and not beat up, but just not a great relationship that she has with him. And then by the end, she's like a changed person, you know. And who thinks that happens in Grease too? But I think she just does such a great job of making this useless character into actually something, and that's what I love about her. And she's so cute and so funny, and I think she's great in this. I wish she would have done more in life. Maybe she will.
Seriously,
one day.
Maybe she will. Like, maybe she'll have like some late in life career resurgence and just
let's bring her in for Hello Dolly on Broadway after Bernadette leaves. I'm saying it right now.
Thank you.
I'd buy a ticket to that, or you know. Or at very least, cast her as Miss McGee when they do Grease 2 live on Fox.
Live on Fox.
Yes.
Why hasn't she been in a live on Fox?
Really? Come on, they could throw her in there for something. What is she
doing right now? Come on. She's
filming another Wizard of Oz documentary.
Damn it.
Yes, and swimming in diamonds in Bel Air.
So
aren't we all?
So Lorna Luft for the win there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
So before we get into maybe the guiltier side of this movie, are there any other standout performances or characters or anything that you want to bring up?
Absolutely.
I will say, and this is like kind of a given. I was telling Tiffany earlier that my dream role in life is to play the principal's secretary, Roz. Yeah. I think it is.
Blanche.
I mean, she's just
Blanche.
Like Blanche. Oh, Blanche. I mean, she just, from Grease 1 to this one, she's just, I don't give a shit how absurd her acting and bits are. Like, just, I need more. I want more.
Yes.
She's ridiculous. And hysterical in every scene. I don't know if it's written. I don't know if that's the actress. I don't care. Like, the more wackadoo, the better. And she is, I hope to one day play that 5-minute role.
Sam, honestly, like,
top of the res. Top of the res. Yeah.
Sam, I would love to be I actually don't know these characters' names. You have Blanche and then like Miss something, but Eve
Miss
Arden,
McGee.
Miss McGee. I would love to be the Miss McGee to your Blanche, Sam.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you.
day. Any day.
Thank you. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right there, because a lot of those, like, and they do. That's the one thing this movie. One of the things, other things this movie does right is they are at least able, because presumably none of them are hot ticket items at this point. They get all of the adults from the first Grease back, which at least gives it some continuity. With Rydell, is that at least the faculty is still in place there, even though no one else is. But it's only 2 years later. But her and Eve Arden as Miss McGee, Sid Caesar, all of these people, just like, and they're just these old kind of like those old school Broadway vaudevillian stars who are they're selling it. Good for them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the best part of these movies, is they get those like actors that just are gonna give it, like like even Didi Khan, like
right.
In my notes, I wrote that at the beginning of the movie, you kind of feel like she regretted saying yes, like in her first scene, where she's like, and then, well, I came back, so I could study chemistry, so I can mix my own cosmetics, and you could feel like she hates saying that line, but then the rest of the movie, she really commit. I will say
she does. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you guys see me? Did I disappear?
You disappeared, but it's okay.
How do I work this? All right, keep talking. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
No, but you're right. So the interesting thing about her too is, okay, let's talk. Can we talk Frenchie for a minute? Then you bring up Didi Khan. Okay.
Yeah.
This has bothered me from Grease 1 through to Grease 2. Why is she called Frenchie?
Because she smokes like a French. She does the French smoking, right?
Yeah.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Because
that's the whole joke in Grease.
Okay.
Like there's a whole line. They go. That's why they call me Frenchie, because that's the way I spoke. And then Stockard Channing goes, sure it is.
Okay.
Meaning that maybe she's a great French kisser. That's the joke.
Okay. I appreciate that explanation, because I've got some continuity issues with this movie, because you have Michael Carrington from England, who is the cousin of Sandy from Australia. And then you have a character named Frenchie who is not French.
No, it's the way she smokes.
It's the way she smokes cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can separate that at least from my grievances with this movie. Thank you for at least resolving that. But okay, no, but you're right. And the interesting thing about her too is she shows up, and this is where I think we'll pivot now to to maybe some of the less flattering things about this movie. They spent a lot of money on the songwriting. They did not spend as much on the screenwriting, because this movie, when they start shooting, the script is not finished.
Oh shit!
They have the songs, but they don't have the music, or they have the songs, but they don't have the script. So Didi Khan mentions that because if you notice, her character disappears halfway through the movie. She shows up. She's got exactly 3 scenes. She's supposed to be the Pink Lady. She has no interaction with the Pink Ladies in this movie.
Oh my god! Yeah.
And I don't know why it's been brought in. I think just to help introduce Michael. I don't know.
Right. I think that's exactly it, because they're like, okay, we can't get Travolta, we can't get Olivia, we can get Frenchie. Bring her in. Right. Bring her in. Sure. What are we gonna do? I don't care. I don't know. We're gonna bring her in. Just have her do something. Right. And as they're writing the movie while they're filming, what's that?
So didn't she graduate in Grease 1? I thought they all graduated. I don't know. It's
she says in the beginning that she flunked out of beauty school because she's a beauty school dropout. But she flunks out of beauty school when she turns her hair pink, so she has to go back to Rydell, which explains why she's the only person from the original cast, other than Eugene, who is still a student at Rydell.
Which is so funny, because we all thought Eugene was a senior and the most intelligent, but I guess he's not a senior.
Well, he's a nerd, and nerds are supposed to be smart.
Right. But maybe he's a nerd who's a dumb fuck.
He might.
What?
Wow. coming in hard with the nerd takes.
Can I say F?
Yes, you can. We just earned our E rating here, so that's fine. I'm okay with it.
I doubt anyone under 13 is listening to a podcast about Grease 2. It's fine.
Yes. But yeah, so essentially as they're writing the movie, they realize that Frenchie is not consequential to the plot. So they just write her out. They straight up write her out of the movie as they're filming. So she disappears for no reason in the movie. And it's just because they're like, we're good. Nah, Frenchie, we're cool. We got this.
I love how they just did it as they went along. They're like, well, we're doing Grease 2. Everyone just show up and then we'll figure it out. Yeah. Everyone just bring a prop and endow it. Like,
we got Levi Stubbs, everyone. We're good.
We're fine.
Oh, so good.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My phone is dying. I'm having internet issues. I needed to get another
Sam. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
I think we're great.
Okay.
You guys keep going.
I'm here. I got notes. All right. It's fine.
All right. No, we're good. Well, yeah. Well, just join us back when you can.
All right. I'm back.
Okay. So we've got that, and so she returns, but she returns in kind of a very unceremonious way. And she's one of those people who comes back amidst all the other people. So let's talk, since we're talking script, let's go ahead and pivot to the plot of this movie. And because I think this
Grease 1. Go ahead.
It's the exact same plot of Grease 1 with the gender roles swapped. Yeah. But at the same time, they also seem to just double down on what they thought, I think, made Grease work, which was, it's fun watching teenagers sing about, lust and being horny. And so, like, this to me is like Grease without the subtlety.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is. What I was thinking as I was rewatching it was like, the reason that this is so bad, it's just like, it's the things that are bad are also the things that are good, in that they tried to redo the things that were good in the original Grease. Mm-hmm. And so like those things are still kind of good, but like it's more of like just like this, to me, Grease 2 just kind of feels like a series of pastiche vignettes about the 60s and like no actual like through line. Not saying that Grease has a huge through line, but like even less so in Grease 2.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think what's interesting is I agree with you that Grease doesn't have as much. Neither one of these movies, they're very flimsy plots, to say the least.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you watch Grease, you're watching John Travolta in his peak Travolta, and you're watching Olivia Newton-John, and you're watching Jeff Conway, and you're watching Stockard Channing. You're watching like movie stars. You're watching people with like charisma and people who can sell it enough to make you forget, this like, well, that's what I think is like Grease has kind of that weird, they have lines that don't age well either.
Yeah.
Grease, but yet you're okay with it because those people are so likable, and we can ignore all of the plot because it just rides on charisma. And Grease 2, you just replace it with like these Aldi brand T-Birds and everybody's just such a knockoff that it's just like, it's so the movie becomes way more transparent.
Sure.
Right. And you can see the more just how terrible it is because the acting is lacking so much.
No, I disagree. This is where
the
I disagree.
Acting is lacting. If we ever start T-shirts for the front row, the very first one needs to be the acting is lacking.
Acting. Well, guys.
Sam, you're always incredibly funny, and that's why I love you.
Thank you.
But like, I actually think.
What?
But no, because Sam said earlier that like was talking about Michelle Pfeiffer doing what she could with the script, which I agree. Like she literally like, I'm blown away by Cool Rider, especially the first part of Cool Rider before she starts just like like writhing and like being hot, is that she's literally just like, I love the way she plays it because she's so conflicted in telling, she's like, I actually really like this guy, but I'm telling him what I like. But part of only the reason I like it is because it's based on a code from my friends. And also like, I'm trying to convince myself at the same time that all I really want is a Cool Rider. And like her, just, that's a masterclass in acting, like watching her play that. Mm-hmm. So like that acting's good. I think like the T-Birds, like, well, we haven't talked about Shooter McGavin yet.
Because please, let's talk Shooter.
Christopher McDonald, is that his actual name? I only call him Shooter McGavin. I had to Google his name today. Yeah. But like, his character's name is Goose, A.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
B, he's great. Like all those guys. This is the thing about the acting in this movie is that everyone gives it. Like they take it all seriously, except for Didi Khan in her first line. Like I said, but everyone else like just gives it. So I argue that the acting is actually very good in this movie because they're all trying their best.
Okay, I would agree. I think I agree with you that they're trying their best. I think where I differ is that none of them are stars. You know what I mean?
Except Michelle Pfeiffer.
Except Michelle Pfeiffer. I think they're all like, I love Shooter McGavin. I will never disrespect Shooter McGavin on this podcast. Like, he's not, he's actually one of my other favorite things about this movie. But I think, and you have good actors. I think we talked about Lorna Luft and all these people, and they're selling the material. But I just think they're all missing like an it factor that I think.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Keeps the movie from you getting you thinking about the movie, which is the last thing you want in a movie like this, is to think about this.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is actually the script. I mean, I think each character, like each Pink Lady, each T-Bird, you can tell that they've developed their own character and they're trying to be their own thing and trying to stand out instead of just being a cardboard cutout. But the script for a lot of them, save Michelle Pfeiffer, is so like just blah for them.
Yes.
That I think they do the best they can, and I can see them trying to do their own thing. Like Lorna Luft is obviously totally different than curly haired chick and
totally. Everyone's like in a different movie.
Yes,
as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing is that.
It feels like the movie is in a different movie. Like each song, like the opening Back to School is in one movie, and then like the luau at the end is like a totally random different movie.
Right.
Why are we even having this? I mean, we'll get to it later. Like, also, we think this guy just died, but like we're all just gonna celebrate anyway.
Let's just you bring it up. We can't ignore that. We have let's just address it. Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie, let's get into this real quick. Michael Carrington transforms himself into the Cool Rider, this cool biker guy.
Right.
Towards the end of the movie, he is chased down by the T-Birds because the T-Birds are mad because Stephanie's fallen in love with the Cool Rider, and the Cool Rider, he's not a T-Bird, and Stephanie has to date. She's a Pink Lady. She's got to date T-Birds. It's the law. She'll go to jail. Yeah. But she doesn't care. So they race him. They chase him down Dead Man's Curve, and he makes this leap into this ravine, and they don't see him. They're like, where'd he go? And there's a debate.
He must have died.
He must have died. But see, one of them says, well, he's not down there. Did he make that jump? And some people and everybody's like, well, I guess he's dead, but we got this talent show.
Do we call the police? No. Should we go try to find him? No. Like, what?
Go practice for the challenge.
We've got records to win, people.
We've got Roy Orbison records to get.
Yeah.
What a get.
What a get.
Well, and then all of a sudden, we're just at the challenge show, and like the only one who's like mildly upset is Michelle Pfeiffer. Everyone else is that was weird. Our friend died, but like, okay.
Okay.
But he's got a friend. They don't know who he is.
They don't know who he is, but here's the other thing. Michael Carrington was playing piano, and poorly, I'll add. Playing piano he was the accompaniment for the talent show. Did they how does he not, like, the fact that he's not there, no one cares that Michael Carrington has just gone missing.
I didn't even realize
he's the barb of Rydell High.
Wait, he's not at the talent show?
No, he doesn't show up.
So they're just like, wait, Cool Rider dies. Michael Carrington's not here.
Nothing. Don't care. To care less.
I didn't even pick that up. See, this is why I watch Grease 2 for pleasure.
I also don't understand why if he was alive, why did he wait until the next day luau to show up? Why didn't he come to the talent show and be like, Michelle Pfeiffer, I'm not dead, it's fine. Why did he like have to make like a entrance?
Here's why. Because he knows. Here's what the Cool Rider knows. He knows that loss is going to cause Michelle Pfeiffer to have such an intense breakdown at the talent show. She's going to go rogue, sing her own damn song, and win the whole fucking thing.
Literally every guy I've ever dated, but
shut up. Oh,
you will thank me because I have left you. I've made you better because you're now
fakes his own death to make you feel bad, and then comes back to me.
Yeah,
it's another podcast. It's another podcast.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, because that leads then. No, everything that stems off of that is just batshit insane because that gives us the dream sequence.
Yes, because here's what's crazy about the dream sequence. The whole thing in general is that Girl for All Seasons, and then okay, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Is that she starts. So, Girl for All Seasons is diegetic music, which in musical theater, that means music that is within the world that is actually happening. Not like I'm bursting into song from emotion and it's like not actually in the real world. Like that song is actually happening. Like that's in a talent show.
Like and then she all of a sudden starts singing.
Yes, like for example, like if there were if like a record were playing and then you heard that music, that's diegetic music. So like that's what Girl for All Seasons is, which is why I respect it because I love diegetic music. So, but then it morphs randomly. She starts singing, and it's the people are like, "What's going on?" And then it morphs from diegetic into musical world dream sequence, and then. Well, let's just talk about that dream sequence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Stephanie has a mental breakdown during a musical number, which we've all been there.
Well,
but she then starts to sing this brand new song that no one's ever heard. The lights go down, so that's the question.
Right.
Does everyone around her know that she's singing this? And because she wins the talent show, you have to believe. But in the midst of this, the star that she's holding, because she was a Christmas tree while she I can't even. It shoots away into the heavens. And she's now in heaven with a man who's not dead.
I'm going to piss myself.
He has this scene of I'm so sad that you're dead, and all he has to say, first of all, she believes because in her subconscious he's dead, so she believes she's singing to his ghost. Fine, okay. She doesn't.
Fine, I'll buy it.
Fine, we'll go. We all know as an audience he's not really dead, but okay. They have this scene, and I said earlier, Cool Rider's my new audition song. That Turn Back the Hands of Time is my new karaoke jam.
Yes. Or Cool Rider's your up tempo, and Turn Back the Hands of Time is
exactly. Because the monologue, the dialogue in between is just well, that doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter that I'm dead? What?
Oh my God.
It makes no sense. I feel like that song probably could have been cut.
But no, because you can't cut that song. That song is awkwardly and unfortunately literally the climax of the show, of the movie. So like you can't cut it. It's the emotional climax. Like she's standing there like that's what it is. It's all going on in her head, which yes, we don't need to think like she thinks he's dead, and so therefore this is just a zoom. What they should have done, they should have just zoomed in on her brain.
But that's the thing. But because if it's all going on in her mind, why does she win the talent show for going up on her lines? That's the problem I have.
No, she wins it because she busts out into this new song that there's magically accompaniment for because it's so good.
But if the song's in her head, she can't do that.
No, the song's real.
Committed.
The song's real. The dream sequence is in her mind. This is how she's acting.
So she's singing the song at the talent show.
Yes.
But obviously being Evan with the cool writer.
Yes. It's in her mind. That's what she's playing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll buy that. So
Okay.
So nevertheless, she wins the talent show along with the T-Birds, and I got to bring the T-Birds up because because the T-Birds win with a song that is easily far and away my least favorite song in this movie.
Terrible.
Prowlin'.
Prowlin'. Okay. I want to talk about the fact that the T-Birds are the coolest guys in school, but they're also a choir.
Yes.
That's what I was confused about. Like, why is the talent show like life or death to them? Like, motorcycles having sex.
Because those Roy Orbison records.
Singing in 4-part harmony. Like, why? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Equally, for the T-Birds, winning the Roy Orbison records is equally as life and death as like killing Kratos.
Right. Exactly.
I don't understand.
Because in the first movie, that's what the T-Birds are fighting for. They're taking out the Scorpions. They do the drag race like it's about greaser gangs. In the second movie, the big get for the T-Birds is we got to win that talent show. We got to show everyone that the T-Birds, not only we're the toughest guys, but we're the best singers.
We've got great harmonies. We're going to get those albumins.
Oh my, and when they the other acapella group, when they steal, they wrap them up in rope in the bathroom and steal their cups.
Yes.
Didn't you know the talent show was tonight? Why didn't you get your costumes ready? If this meant so much to you.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, you guys, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, we'll cut for a second here.
Okay.
And then I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's the other part about this, because the whole number itself baffles me, because it starts from when they're in the gas station and they get cut down. Stephanie has left the T-Birds. She's done. She's Team Cool Rider at this point.
Got her Pink Ladies jacket anymore.
No, she's done. And they're like, Johnny Nagarelli. We haven't said Nagarelli enough on this podcast.
No.
Yes. So Nagarelli says, well, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, and they start a musical number, and the first time I hear this, are they about to go get a prostitute?
What? That's the best revenge you can come up with. Well, we're gonna 4-part harmony.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
And the reveal is we're heading to the grocery store to pick up women.
I'm so happy I came back at this moment. Literally, I put in my headphones and heard, we're going to the grocery store to pick up women.
And it's so bad. It's
so bad.
Oh,
It's so bad.
but realistic. You guys, it's realistic. For a teenage boy, literally going to the grocery store is the one place he can pick up women.
Is it?
Yes, for a teenage boy.
I did high school wrong then. It is clear.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
And
like,
I worked at a grocery store. What the hell?
No, if a T-bird wants to pick up an older woman, he's got to go to the grocery store. See, that's what they didn't specify.
In Grease 1 and Grease 2, it feels like they all meet each other on like the track field. Like, why did all the love connections happen like while people are running laps?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's the other thing.
Right?
That's another thing that why these T-birds suck. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay.
I don't know.
In the first one, Danny Zuko joins the track team to impress Sandy.
Mhm.
right.
Why the hell is Johnny Nagarelli on the track team?
Wait,
Who's he trying to impress?
I don't know.
Oh, well, okay. This is what I'm going to say about that, is that maybe some of these high schoolers in Grease 2 are a little more well-rounded. And that's what I like about these particular kids, is that, for example, Sharon and the Pink Ladies, she's into drama and she's directing. Like Michelle Pfeiffer, she works at a gas station. Like
I did appreciate the amount of female directors in 1961. I do say that.
Yes.
Again,
I just think that these people, they just got a little, that's what I like about Grease 2, is that all these characters got a little something else you wouldn't expect. That's what I like.
Yeah. They're not just average, like, dumbass high school.
Well, no, yeah, like the T-birds are all the same.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, they're just the car guys. But like in this one, they're motorcycle guys, but they're also singers.
Yeah. Right.
Like actual singers.
They're also singers.
fair enough. Well, I mean, go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead, no.
No.
I was just going to say, can we talk about the importance of bowling?
Yeah.
Can we? Talk about that? Oh my God.
I think there are three musical numbers we haven't talked about yet that I really want to talk about. Let's start with this one.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk with we're going to score tonight.
Right. Which obviously genius double entendre. My issue, and I have been to many a bowling alley. How are they? This is two parts. One, allowed to pirouette on the bowling lanes, and two, how do they not fall while they're dancing in the lanes? You know what I mean?
It's a good.
Okay.
It's so unrealistic. I mean, those lanes are.
Okay, Sam, I'm disappointed because obviously, even though this is a bad musical, it's still a musical. So literally, those things are just taken out.
I guess I'm being too literal.
You're being too literal.
I know.
Like there's where you gotta live in the land. Like if this were Grease, would you be talking about them not being able to dance on the lanes?
You're right.
No.
Right. Third, did you notice that there's a group of nuns bowling?
No.
No?
No.
It's all the kids. It's all the high school kids, humping and grinding and doing all the dancing.
Humping.
And then is that what you call it? And then there's literally a group of Catholic nuns in full habit, like bowling in a couple lanes next to them. What was the director thinking is my question. Like, what would really enhance this scene if nuns were bowling?
Who doesn't like that visual?
Exactly. That sounds like Grease to a T. It's like, what's the visual gag of any moment?
We should get back to gags because there's really.
Yes.
movie.
You're right. And that number too, because again, it's well staged, it's well choreographed, but it's so ridiculous. And the lyrics are so like, it's again, like I said, like it's somebody was like, hey, we love Grease, but we feel they were beating around the bush a little too much. Let's just come right out and say it. Because the other thing about that song, because they keep talking about what's going to happen when which team wins. So does that mean because we're gonna this can get dark in a minute here.
Oh, I love it.
Because the Pink Ladies are assigned to the T-Birds. Yeah. If the T-Birds win the bowling match, are the Pink Ladies now obliged to be with them that night, as Lorna Luft just says?
Yeah.
That if you bowl that strike and I'll be your baby tonight. That
okay? The stakes are high and the winner takes all. If I may quote.
And that's where again this movie because this movie to me is like I'm quoting. It reminds me the AV Club said this about the Full House reboot, Fuller House. So I'm repurposing this line, and I'm giving credit.
I know you were going to bring up Full House just in this.
Because I literally can't go 60 minutes of conversation without bringing up Full House. I'm incapable of it. But they talked about Fuller House, and so I'm giving them their credit because this is not my line. This is theirs.
Go.
But it's a porn parody without the porn.
Oh my God.
And that's what Grease 2 is to me. It's a porn parody of Grease, but there's no sex in it because the songs are everyone in this movie is so horny.
Yeah.
Like everyone wants to just do it.
I don't know what y'all's high school experience was like, but
not this.
No.
I didn't see a penis until I was in college. Like I wasn't singing about
Sam, congrats.
I don't want to talk about it. I was not singing about scoring tonight. And now, as this can be a segue to the reproduction song.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, wonderful segue, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Great song. Hysterical.
Also written by the guy who wrote Goodbye Earl, by the way.
That song.
Brilliant.
That number. Makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Okay, let's talk about structurally, actually, how good and bad that song is.
Yeah.
It's bad because the verses are one note. It's like, this is what we're doing.
But the lyrics are so funny and so clever.
No,
Make my stamen go berserk.
It's the only.
Stop! Just.
It's the only song in the movie where the lyrics are good and the music is bad. Everything else is the other way around.
So good.
I know. I can't. I can't sit through it. I don't care. Film version, soundtrack version. That's the one song. I'm just like that maybe says more about me than it does about the movie. But
it doesn't matter.
But I will say this: Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin. Where does the pollen go?
Where does the pollen go?
Is maybe one of the best parts of the whole movie.
But it's not him. That can't be him. I love that in that
song, shut your mouth.
They decided to just be like, and Goose is the bass.
Nope. Walking away, shut it down. We are shutting this podcast down right now.
Guys, I have one more fun fact real quick about my childhood.
Okay.
Is that in health class in sophomore year, I brought in Grease 2, the reproduction song, to my health class as extra credit. I brought in the VHS. My health teacher, Miss Romano Man, was like, yeah, if you bring in that VHS, I'll give you 50 points extra credit. And I was like, fuck yeah.
That is.
We watched it as a class.
I love that number. It's so stupid.
It's
inappropriate.
Yes.
Unnecessary in literally every way because we've already sung about having sex 5 times.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna sing about it one more. Hold on, we're getting there. Oh, go ahead. But finish.
Do It for Our Country.
Yes.
Are we talking about Do It for Our Country right now?
We can't
This
avoid
is
it any longer.
the most controversial song of the movie.
Rewatching that today,
Oh.
very uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
Yes.
I was trying to, not look too deep into the movie and not trying to judge it so hard, but ooh,
Yeah.
it's not great.
No.
Forcing
No.
on somebody and lying to them, and it would not great.
Using what? So wait a minute. So just so I'm clear, using nuclear war as a means to get a woman into bed is unacceptable.
At first glance, you would think no, but when I looked at it again, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Mental note, kids.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
that song to me was like,
Well, yeah. Oh, it's so. I feel so bad for those actors, like having to do that number because it's easily the most. It's. I don't know if it's the worst song in the movie, but it's easily the most
because
uncomfortable.
it's one of the most memorable. Yeah.
Right,
Ooh.
because and it's it's kind of it's well written, but it's just the song, the what it's trying to accomplish is so uncomfortable that it reminds me, because this movie comes out in 1982. It's a year like after Porky's. It's the same year as Fast Time at Ridgemont High. So it's like
that makes so much sense. Wow.
Right. It's that early 80s horny teenager do anything to get laid kind of a movie, but it's a PG musical at the same time, which makes it just. And then when you throw in the fact that it actually has a kind of a feminist protagonist, it's like this movie's just all over the place.
Right. That's what's so crazy to me about this is like, so the article I keep citing that was recently written and I was shared all over social media. It's like Pajiba.com. It was whoever wrote it. Her name was Courtney Enlow, and she was like, Grease 2 is a superior Grease. It's a feminist Grease, and they address all these things. They address. Like in her like tagline, it's like they address rape culture, but then she like never goes into it again, and I'm kind of like, you're just kind of using that. Like they don't address rape culture. He literally is trying to rape her. Like,
yeah.
Like that's not like they're not giving us like a feminist. They're not giving us a progressive take on rape culture. He's just trying to rape her.
Right.
Like okay. Like let's calm it down.
I try to give the benefit of the doubt. It's supposed to be funny. He doesn't, in the end, obviously have sex with her because she finds out that it's blah, blah, blah. But it's like, weird.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is their relationship, Lewis and Sharon, like because they all get in the final scene, the final musical, they all get their little points, and the whole point is like, oh, we're not gonna do it. We're actually, because there's nothing wrong with just liking each other. We'll just be together. So it's so weird that it has some very progressive ideas in it, like sandwiched in between some just baffling early 80s ugliness that's just like it's so weird.
It's really weird, but I guess that's like in line with the 80s. It's like
totally it is
lab, but like raping is so
right
yeah
okay, so anything what else is there anything else that stands out from you from this movie? We haven't talked. You mentioned earlier. Now, if we're going to call Christopher McDonald Shooter McGavin, I request that we only refer to Maxwell Caulfield as Rex Manning.
As Rex Manning. I was waiting for you to say that. Rex Manning.
So let's talk about Rex Manning just for a brief moment beyond his look.
I mean, so hot. Love it.
I literally just said beyond his look.
Okay, he can't sing for shit. He's literally He's even worse than the girl who plays Sharon, who's a terrible singer, but I love her as an actress in this movie, especially like all her reactions when they're like, Sharon, you're in the show, and she goes, ah! Like one of my favorite moments. She just goes, ah! Like she encapsulates the era and like that style, like that squeal you could only find in a 60s movie. I can't believe an actress in 1980 whatever found that. Ah! Anyway, so aside from her,
yeah,
I think he's got it. He can't sing for shit, but I actually think, I think he does a good job.
You know what? I don't think that he does entirely. I think he.
Okay, maybe I'm only speaking from my vagina again, because like when they find each other, and then he like grabs her and he whispers, Stephanie. I'm just like, it's really, I don't know. I don't know.
I think he, as an actor, I just feel like he just plays one note the whole time. He's just like,
but does not. Sorry, go on.
Agree to disagree, but like I just feel like he's like, I'm just so in love with this girl, and I'm just blah, blah, blah. I'm not the greatest fan of him. He cannot sing. Okay.
Here's the thing about that. Okay. Olivia Newton-John literally does the exact same thing in Grease, but I think we give her a pass. Because she's a woman. It's almost anti-feminist to be like, it's okay if she just kind of plays this like blah, blah, blah. But when a man's doing it, like we want to see a man doing more. He does do more. He literally the only thing Sandy does in Grease is put on a fucking catsuit at the end. Michael literally gets on a motorcycle, learns how to ride it, learns how to jump, actually has a real thing that he is trying to do to get this woman's love, and he does it well.
All he does is put on leather and rides a fucking motorcycle. He doesn't change his character.
He literally risks his life. He risks his life. Okay? What does Sandy do? She goes, tell me about it. Dud awkwardly puts out a cigarette. Are you kidding me? This movie these characters have at least 37% more depth than the original Grease. I will say that.
Whoa.
The lead characters. I'm only talking about Stephanie and Michael. I'm not talking about the other ones.
He's supposed to have this like big change, this big arc. He's supposed to change into this other person, but he doesn't at all. He's just like, all I did was put on a fucking like motorcycle jacket and ride a motorcycle and like got rid of my English accent. Like he's not the same at the end. I just don't, or excuse me, he is the same at the end.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the movie, is the fact that like he is the same and he just needed to like add a little layer on.
Okay, so let's talk about that, which is basically the plot of Grease 1, which is like, change who you are and then I'll like you. Like,
yes, exactly. So they're both bullshit plots in that.
100%. But like,
Lou wants to say something. I can tell.
No. I'm gonna make some popcorn. No.
I don't know. I just think it's like a bullshit ending where all of a sudden Michelle Pfeiffer is like, oh my God, I do like you. I just didn't realize.
Then how do you justify the end of the original Grease?
Because no, here's where I'll step in. Here's where I'll step in. They're both bullshit endings, but it goes back to I think what I said earlier. In that, okay, there's a scene where Michelle Pfeiffer and Maxwell Caulfield are having the diner scene where they're talking, and that's supposed to be the scene. Yeah, no ketchup.
No ketchup.
I love that scene.
That's to me supposed to be the scene where we see these two people have chemistry together regardless of what their personas are. And I don't think that happens in that scene. I think Olivia Newton-John have chemistry together regardless of their personas. So you buy the change even when Travolta half-ass puts the Letterman sweater on and is like, oh, well, I'm a jock now or whatever. Because they sell it because you believe it. Michelle Pfeiffer sells it and you believe it. I don't think Maxwell Caulfield sells this. I don't think you believe it because I don't think the guy has enough charisma to pull it off.
I think I don't think it's written. I think they needed maybe one or two more scenes of Michelle Pfeiffer getting to know regular.
No.
You know,
we don't need two more scenes. The movie's already 2 hours long. It's too long.
Yes. Okay. And this podcast is going to go 2 hours long if we.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So any other big takeaways or anything else that you want to point out positively or negative about this movie? Real quick, anything that stands out that we hit? What haven't we covered yet?
I have a couple things.
Okay.
Go.
I cried at the end when they're in the graduation gowns. I cried. I'm not gonna lie. I cried.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I literally cried last night watching it. This morning. I finished it, and I was a little stuck up.
Okay.
Number 2, Mr. Stewart, Tab Hardy.
Yes.
That is arguably the Fox of the movie is Mr. Stewart. Like
yes.
Mr.
Yes. Well, and Tab Hunter himself, this is where him and Miss McGee, the actress that plays Miss McGee, Connie Stevens, they're both heartthrobs from the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring them back as like this fun callback. The other fun thing is that Tab Hunter actually was closeted in the 50s and 60s. He actually was in a relationship with Anthony Perkins from Psycho. So that reproduction number has all sorts of meaning and layers to it, like that make it more entertaining watching it now. So yeah, and he's great. I mean, they're both great. And yet the other thing about those two characters is they're just as horny as the teens because, okay, first of all, her character, Connie Stevens' character, Miss Mason, in the opening sequence, basically tells the T-Birds if they come to art appreciation, they're gonna get to see her naked.
Yeah.
Yes. What?
It's so crazy. Like basically, all the teacher-student relationships in this one are fucking bonkers. The fact that reproduction even existed, and they're like, so how about a condom? And they're just like going off, and the teacher's just like, oh, you're so silly. Sit down. Like that's bizarre.
Yes.
Bizarre. Yeah, for sure.
And then apparently her libido was quelched when Tab Hunter's character shows up because she is head over heels, and they see like that scene at the luau where the pom-poms go. They're making out at a school function. How are they not? They don't get written up for this? No suspensions, nothing?
I'm super okay with it. Super okay with everything.
Whatever. Even though he was closeted, he's super hot. Like, also, yes, thank you for correcting me, Tab Hunter. I said Tab Hardy. I've had some wine, but whatever, it doesn't matter. He's really hot. I'm not attracted to blondes, but he's super hot, and he was also Joe in Damn Yankees. So one of my favorite musicals. So whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, what I wanted to talk about is the song that Michael half sings in his head.
Yeah, half sure.
Like lunch. Yeah. That might be the worst part of the whole movie.
Yes.
I've always found it super boring. Weird. And just like I feel like it was like the writers were like, well, we should probably give him a solo, so let's like write this awkward thing.
Right.
Or he's like, woe is me. And we'll throw that in there. Like, I hate that part. It's stupid.
Right. But let's make it as a voiceover so he doesn't ever actually have to act the song.
Right. He's just walking through the lunchroom with his sad tray. Like everybody's walking around him, and it's just so dumb.
Right. Well, yes. And that's the difference between the two leads in the movie, because when Michelle Pfeiffer gets a song, they're just like, we're going to film her just being her.
Yeah.
She's no one else around her. She's got a solo number. She's just making it work. But with him, it's like, okay, we're not going to make him act this song. Let's just have him sing it and then just film a bunch of people around him and make him look despondent, and that's it.
Right. I don't get it.
Okay, so and anything else? I think we've covered a lot here. We've covered a lot of ground.
So one other thing I want to say is that the girl who plays Rhonda, I think, looks a lot like me and Sam's friend Kelly Johnson.
Shout out to Kelly Johnson if she's listening.
Shout out to Kelly Johnson. She's a brilliant Chicago actress. I think the girl who plays Rhonda, like Kelly Johnson, could have been Rhonda.
Okay. All right. One last thing before we wrap this up. Quick take. Better 80s Goose. Anthony Edwards or Shooter McGavin?
Wait.
I have such a place in my heart for Anthony Edwards. I feel like Anthony Edwards, but I'm so biased.
Okay.
I am really embarrassed. I've never seen. I'm assuming you're referring to Top Gun.
I am. Wow.
I've never seen it.
Okay, so that I'm gonna take that as a vote for Shooter.
So, Shooter McGavin.
No, Anthony Edwards for days.
Ooh.
No, I love Anthony Edwards in ER.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go Shooter McGavin.
Yes, thank you. I'm so not embarrassed anymore.
And in an alternate universe where Tom Cruise plays Johnny Nagarelli, he then has 2 movies where he has a sidekick named Goose.
I can't even believe you're picking a Grease 2 over Top Gun, but okay.
All right. Okay. So on that note, we're gonna wrap things up before we put Grease 2 to bed. We're gonna give we're gonna go to our new rating system here on Guilty Pleasures, which is the Guilt Meter, on a scale of 1 to 5 shame spirals. 1 being, I am not ashamed of this movie. I would host public screenings if I could and tell people to rush out and see this movie. 5 being, I would never tell anybody how much I like this movie. I keep it hidden under my bed and only watch it by myself. Where would you rate Grease 2? We'll start with you, Sam.
Oh, I mean, I would rate it probably a 2. I don't think there's anything. Oh, Tiffany's pouring more wine. I don't think there's anything shameful about this movie. I mean, minus, like the sexism and misogyny. But I movie to people. I'm not ashamed that this is a guilty pleasure of mine. I sing it to the heavens. It's I love this movie. It's great. It's fun. Why not?
All right.
My answer.
Okay, Tiff, where are you?
All right, here's my whole theory on guilty pleasures in general.
Yeah.
So, the time heals wounds. So therefore, Grease 2, we're so far removed from, and it's so ridiculous that, like, I have no problem touting the virtues of Grease 2. I feel like a true guilty pleasure would be being like, I love Anne Hathaway. Like now, if I were to say in real life right now, like, I love Anne Hathaway, I'm actually would be embarrassed to say that. So like that, like if I were to be like, God, Anne Hathaway, she's my favorite actress. Like that's a 5. Whereas now I would give Grease 2 a 1 because, again, time heals all wounds. We're now 35 years, as you said, Lou, away from Grease 2. And therefore, I give it a 1 on the shame spiral because what the fuck? Who cares?
All right. I think I'm gonna go with you, Sam. I'm gonna give it a 2 because I think, look, this is not a good movie by normal standards. This is not a well-written movie in many ways. It's not in a lot of ways. The acting's not great. There's a lot of things that are cringeworthy about this movie, but it's in that, because of that, it's a lot of fun, and there are parts of it that are really well done. I think you could sit down. I think if you haven't seen this movie, if you're a fan of musicals, you should see this. If it's on Netflix right now, you can watch it there. I think if you're a fan of musicals, you should see Grease 2 at least once in your life. So I wouldn't ever shy anybody away from it who doesn't, unless you dislike musicals, which why would you watch Grease 2? But there's a lot of fun to be had here. I think it's enjoyable for that, and yeah, it's bad, but it's fun bad, and there are moments of it that are genuinely good too, so sprinkled throughout the bad. So
agree.
All right, so that's going to do it for our second episode of Guilty Pleasures. I want to thank both of you. This was so much fun. I can't wait to have you back, both of you back, to talk about whatever you want to talk about, movies or otherwise. Do either of you have any projects or anything that you wanna plug while we're wrapping up the podcast?
Go, Tiff.
Oh, well, if you're in Milwaukee, I'm doing Guys and Dolls, the Milwaukee rep. Otherwise, I have 2 Instagrams. You can follow me at Fanny T, T-E-E, or Move the Furniture. That's it.
I don't do anything.
You can follow Sam on Instagram at Sam. Just say it.
Dub 8. My Instagram's stupid. Don't.
Sam Dubs 8. If you didn't get that.
All right. Excellent. Yeah. And you can follow me on Twitter at @thefakelou_hair. You can also follow us, the Front Row Networks, at Front Row Reviews. And make sure, if you like this show, if this is the first time you've checked us out, please go through the archives. There's a lot of fun stuff in there. Find us on iTunes, rate the show, subscribe. We've got a website, thefrontrowreviews.com. You can go to our Facebook page as well. And always, interact with us. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what you thought of Grease 2. If you've got questions, comments, let's talk. If you have suggestions for future Guilty Pleasures you want us to handle, we also have on the feed, we have our flashbacks. We have our Zonesodes in their own separate feed, Twilight Zone episodes. Are You Afraid of the Podcast, which is the Are You Afraid of the Dark recap show. We have Full Disclosures, Beyond the Mouse, flashbacks. I'm probably forgetting something, but we've got a lot of content coming out over the next month. I hope you continue to check us out and come back, and we'll see you probably next month at least for another Guilty Pleasure at the very least. And so for the Front Row Movie Reviews podcast, I am Lou Hare.
I'm Tiffany Tobel.
I'm Sam.
And as always, we will see you in the front row.
Woo!